Hello everybody, happy Friday, my name is Tamir, and on the fourth take right now, welcome to KamenRider BlackMan. As today, I do another movie review. Yes, today I am reviewing KamenRider OOO's Wonderful, the Shogun, and the 21 core medals. Keep in mind right now, I have chips, so I will be eating throughout this review, because I needed something. Now, starting off this movie, this movie starts off in Germany, where with the Kogami Foundation trying to unseal like a grave of an alchemist. Actually, it's one of the alchemists that was there with the original OOOs when he was alive that created the 21 core medals. It's not the alchemist, it's one of them. And immediately, I have to pick on one thing in this movie, that it's the Kogami Foundation's fault why this movie happens to begin with, because they're breaking into a grave and stealing from it, because the goal of it was to get the lost core medals. And it goes to show, we as a human race do not know when not to open random sarcophagi, or graves for that matter, because we get introduced to the villain of this movie, Gaara, and his goal is to become the full KamenRider OOOs and do what the original OOOs failed to do, and absorb the power of all of the core medals and use it to destroy the world. And of course, this gets our riders, O's and Birth, Eiji, and Dante's attention, to which they go to the excavation site and deal with the matter, leading up to my second thing, and hopefully I will have a counter for this. But this movie, we first start off in Germany, and next, when Eiji and Dante are there, it's all of a sudden in Japan, because fast travel is not a real thing. None of them are teleporters. Eiji could only be in Tajidor, but for so long until he gets tired. So either the movie decided to say, hey, now we're happening in Japan, or how did they get to Germany so quickly? Because they have to be in Germany since the excavation workers are there. Another thing about this movie is that we have different minions in this movie that aren't the wasted yummies from the show. And I'll just say it. The minions in this movie are medieval knights in a movie about samurai. Well, I guess this makes sense for Forza, since it's about space and their minions are minions next year. So, yeah. So, anyway, also another thing about Gaara is that he is possessing a woman who also plays a big part in this movie. And he's also wearing an awful mask. I wanted to get that out there too. The mask he's wearing, it's so gray, so dullish. It looks like glass art, and it's so dark, and it looks awful. I just don't even want to look at it, because I just want to look away from it. I even want to look away from the thought of that mask right now. Hey, so, with that said, all of the core medals from Eiji, Ong, and all the other greed are taken by her, which leaves Eiji with only 2 medals. And that's another thing which I will get to later on in this review. But now, there is a child there, and which I thought I was going to have a problem with the kid plot, but I apparently don't, since this works out well. Because Gaara is his mom. And what I mean by that is, like I said, Gaara is possessing a woman, and that woman just so happens to be his mom. So that explains why the kid named Shun is hanging around Eiji and Hina. So yeah, like, he wants to get his mom back after having a spat with her, and that's fine. That's something you can feel for. Not kidding. I'm okay with that. Alright, now, where was I? Next. Now, back to Gaara's new plan on becoming the new O's. She is going to use desire to empower her plan, to execute her plan, by using a girl dressed up as a court jester named Belle to offer people like $5 million to offer people $5 million and to have this Endo period style ponytail that samurai hat usually had back in their hair, which is like a bald spot, and like that one ponytail just there, and it looks awful. It looks so stupid. Because, first of all, how does all that hair... They have to... I don't know. It looks like it would have to work like how braids work and just gather all your hair together. Except you're not twisting anything. You're just having it there and using a rubber band. But it still just looks ridiculous. So for every person who... I guess once a person actually has that hairstyle on their head, it takes effect to Gaara's plan, and cell metals are produced, which, when cell metals are produced, like, an entire city area immediately gets lifted up into the air and flips like a coin, and you end up in a different time period. And this is what happens to Eiji, Ankh, and Hina, and the little boy Shun, because they end up in the Endo period, which then leads up to one of the most infamous scenes in this movie, where Eiji becomes KamenRider Birth because Dante lost his metal tank when it flipped over.
Just like, dumbass.
Okay, one more thing along with that. Along with his metal tank, Dante also loses the birth driver.
This is my new imaginary warning light. Whenever it starts blinking, a situation has 10 seconds to resolve itself before I flash white with rage and kill someone. 1, 2, 3.
You know, it's not like in Fives where the belt was in a briefcase. The birth driver should be small enough to carry around. Hell, have you seen how huge the Forze driver is? And Forze carries it around with him, like, literally. Like, even with the strap there, it still shouldn't be a problem. And once again, Forze carries his driver with him. It's like this long, and it's bulky, and he carries it with him, like, wherever he stores it. And Dante keeps his driver in a milk jug full of metals. And look what happens. Anyway, Eiji transforms into... Well, no, I did say it right the first time. Eiji transforms into Birth, and he doesn't have enough metals because, like I said, he doesn't have enough metals to become O's. And him as Birth, it's good for the moment against the Newell Yummy. Newell as in the yokai monster, which is a combination of different animals. So yeah, Japanese trivia, I like it, especially the ones on folklore. Now, I don't know if this movie's canon to the show or not, because Eiji is very far along in the show, where at this point Eiji does have the medals to become Pototera, and I don't know why throughout this whole movie he doesn't, or at least until the latter half of this movie, he doesn't use Pututera, even though he's still. Here's why I don't know if this movie's canon or not, because he does have the dinosaur metals inside of him, but we don't know if he's at that point where, story-wise, where he's in full control of it or not. Which brings up to like another thing later, where it turns out Eiji did have a core metal on him, but it was stuck in his shoe. I like Eiji, but that still doesn't mean that he doesn't have a stupid moment. Anywho, back to the movie where finally the samurai part of this movie actually shows up, when we now meet Yoshimune Tokugawa, the 8th shogun of the Tokugawa shogunate. He's a real person. And where's that at? He's a real person. There's actually a history on him and such. Son of a bitch. Sorry about that. I had a phone call where it was just a spam call, really. And that's the second time that's happened today while recording. First time it happened was the first take I tried of recording this. But yeah. Now we get to the next interesting part about this movie, where Yoshimune Tokugawa just so happens to have core metals on him, and he just gives them to Eiji, to where we see Burakwani. Let's talk about this form, where the animals on here are a cobra, a tortoise, and a crocodile. Huh. The colors on here... the colors on here aren't terrible. One part I honestly do like about this combo is the crocodile legs. Just because of the types of kicks they likes to do. The helmet. The fact that for Cobra he has a turban on. That's fine. And another thing too, while he does have the turban, apparently the snake ability allows him to be a snake charmer. Because he finds a flute, plays it, and then a snake comes out of nowhere and attacks the monster. And the tortoise gives him great defense abilities. And so, yeah. How the form looks, I'm quite alright with it. It's not terrible looking. And here's another reason why I like the crocodile legs. It's because of the rider kick he does with it, where he's just sliding on the ground until he just comes back up and just kicks the monster. That is impressive. That I just really like. Because that's the one good rider kick that O's does have. Because his other rider kicks in show... unless you're like Shouta or Gatakariba, then... where you can just multiply yourself and whatnot to... yeah. Anywho, moving on. Burakwani looks great. And I did something stupid on my laptop. So 1 second. Fixing. Now with Burakwani beating the Nuyami, that's been giving Eiji a hard time, and now he strikes back and wins. Kogami makes an offer. Well, he makes a suggestion to Gaara to suggest Eiji to be a great source of desire by giving him a yes or no deal. Here's the deal. Eiji, the Bell shows up and makes the deal to Eiji that giving him the chance to leave the Endo period and go back to his timeline, but in exchange, everyone there would disappear and die, which is quite strange because the Endo period is either in, like, with how everything's set up, the Endo period is most likely its own timeline, or hell, they're in like a different dimension or something. So saying that everyone would die would be a bit of a exasperation. But anywho, Bell makes the deal with AG that he could leave, but that means everyone else would die. And AG makes a condition that if he goes, then his family can leave with him. And this condition alone, I never thought of that. So Eiji makes the deal saying that him and his family will leave. And by family, look, to us, Eiji must mean for family, Hina and Ankh. But instead, by family, he means every single person that's there, to which he considers, in his own words, his family. Because if his desire is that big, then why not make it so big to literally include everyone? That was freaking clever. Because their deal never said who is part of his family or whatnot. Just his family too. Okay. It wasn't descriptive. And that I was impressed with, because I didn't see it coming, nor did I think about it that way, because it was so clever. And Eiji I can now forget about the metal thing and what. I can now forget about him having Potutera and not using it that whole time, whatnot. Anyway, but yeah, think about using that wish so you can go back with literally everyone. It's too much to handle, like literally. So that it's literally too much to handle where, like, they break out of the Endo period world and Gaara's machine generating like the desires and collecting the cell metals, it breaks. So yeah, they escape and make it back to their time. At this point now, Gaara's plan is coming down, and Shun's mother at this point is absorbed by Gaara. She's absorbed inside of Gaara. And I was gonna do this, and it's something I know I'll do in editing, but so I might as well look into it now. Looking at Gaara's monster form, cause let me pull it up, because the color scheme on there is like, because the color scheme on there, it reminds me of Drive. It reminds me of Drive in some form of way, like how the Roymutes usually look. See, here's how it looks. Man, interesting colors too. Like, yeah, it almost reminds me of Drive and how some of the Roymutes look. Especially, say, I don't know, Heart. Because, like, you see some light, some yellow, green, purple, dark yellow, and I don't know, some burgundy or something around those lines. Like, Gaara alone, it looks like a combination between, I don't know, a dying plant and a vampire. But yeah, at this point, Shun's mother has been absorbed inside of Gaara, and Eiji is just going at it, charging at him with the Metagaliber Saber and the Mega Gabryu in his hands, and he succeeds. He succeeds getting Shun's mother out, and we also get the debut of KamenRider Forze. Now, I was still working and finishing up this script from last night, and I got to thinking that not a lot of cameos of the new Rider shows. They don't they don't really match up. They don't really match well because most Kamen Rider cameos for the new shows coming out after the current airing one, they're always something different at first for us to expect. Then when the show comes on, it's something completely different. Like, best examples is Build's cameo in X-Aid with Gemu. Build sounded like the Shy type, and Ghost's debut in Drive, Ghost came off like a badass. So, like, in very few cameos really get it right and match tones. So, but yeah. But Forze's cameo matched the tone of the show when Gentaro used one switch that he has for an attack, and he uses Eiji as O's to be part of that attack. And my apologies for a minute. That was my phone. Turns out I'm on like 5%. Anywho, let me charge up my phone and get to what I'm gonna say. So, Gentaro uses a switch, and he makes Eiji part of the attack, and he has Eiji, he's holding Eiji, and he's just swinging him around, then throws him into Gara, and that's what takes him out temporarily. Like, because something like that is just so Forze, a giant hand being used, and someone getting swung around. But yeah, and after that, Gentaro's like called away, and that's the cameo. Alright, guys, I'm still setting up, so give me six. With the mothers separated, Gara now goes for the Pututero medals, and does so, and now that he has all of the medals, he now transforms into this current Kamen Rider decade-ish, 2010 looking, or whatever, I forgot what year O's came out, CGI monster called a Gara Dragon. And this beast alone is fighting Eiji and Dante, and they just can't deal with it. With it just the two of them. So all of the greed, well, first of all, Yuva shows up and gives his core medals to Eiji so that he can transform and multiply while in Gatakariba, so that all of the greed could give him their core medals so that he can become all of his main forms, and also including Tatoba and Burakwani, to where the clones are enough to end Gara. Like, that's it. Like, that's the end of Gara. And that's also the last time that we see Burakwani, period. And because he doesn't use it again in show, so that's just it. And that's the end. And they beat Gara. And Eiji, Anki, and Hina walk home together with Eiji thinking of them as a family, and that's the end of this movie. Overall, this isn't a bad movie. Like, honestly, I went into this movie thinking that I was gonna hate it, but this is actually a good movie. Like, seriously, like I said, I like that the kid actually has a purpose in it, and Eiji's stupid moments are, well, Pututero is more logical thinking. The fact that he has like a metal stuck in his shoe, that anyone could find that funny. One thing I will say about this movie, though, is that the parts about it being like Shogun, like parts about it being like in the Endo period and Samurai, they really don't stand out. Those are the only parts of this movie that really don't stand out, because Tokugawa was there and then he left to go be part of history, and he just had those medals with him. You could argue and say that he got them from a trip, which apparently that's what it says on the Wikipedia. But even from when I watched the movie, he just had them. But yeah, and like I said too, the samurai part of that movie really doesn't. It didn't matter because of the plot, because it really didn't matter to the plot because. Well, let me just say this. The fact about samurais and whatnot in the Endo period, they didn't really matter because the plot wasn't really centered on that. But even with that said, this is still a good movie. And, that is my review. My apologies in advance for all the pop-ups coming up, all the cutaways and whatnot. I've gotten spam calls today. I've been planning this review for like a week. No, not this week, for like 2 weeks. And I just wanted to get it out now. I had this to do. I had the Gridman reviews to do. And I'm also currently watching Go Sager right now so that I can review that channel. So I can review that full show. So yeah. My next movie review would be... I don't know when my next movie review would be, but do you guys like these reviews? Please let me know in the comments. I would not mind doing more. Because with all the plans that I do have in mind in the future, like my first 100 days video is coming up, so I have that to plan. And so yeah, I have some good ideas. I have some plans for videos in mind from next week until December and January. So please, that's really all I have to say. So if you like this review, thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, tell your friends. Feel free to share this video if you want to. And I would also like to find somewhere on here where I could promote my channel, because I do most of my promoting in Facebook groups, and I thought about using Reddit, but it's a bit more complicated than you think. So if any ideas, feel free to let me know. And thank you for watching. This has been KamenRider BlackMan. Don't forget to like, subscribe, tell your friends, share this video if you want to, and see you.